The sound of a life hanging in the balance is not a scream. It is a beep. Beep, beep, beep. I lay in the bed at St. Jude's Medical Center. My chest felt like it had been crushed under a pile of wet cement. The air smelled of rubbing alcohol and floor wax, a sharp, stinging scent that burned my nose. I stared at the ceiling tiles, 12 across, 14 down. One tile in the corner had a brown water stain that looked like a jagged scar. I focused on that scar. It was easier than focusing on the terrifying numbness in my legs, or the fact that for the first time in 65 years, I was completely alone. My name is Robert. For 40 years, I was a structural engineer. I built bridges that spanned raging rivers. I designed the foundations for skyscrapers that swayed in the wind but never broke. I understood stress points. I knew exactly how much pressure a steel beam could take before it snapped. But lying there, with tubes in my nose and a heavy ache in my soul, I realized the truth. I had miscalculated the stress points in my own life. If you're listening to this and you know what it feels like to build a life for someone only to have them tear it down, subscribe to the channel. Let me know in the comments where you are watching from. My phone buzzed on the plastic tray table. The vibration rattled against a cup of lukewarm water. I turned my head. The movement sent a fresh spike of pain down my neck. I saw the screen light up. A photo appeared. Jason, my son. A wave of warmth tried to rise in my chest, but the cold reality of the hospital room squashed it. He was calling. Finally, I had been here for 2 days. I reached out, my hand trembling. The IV line pulled at my skin. I slid the green icon and brought the phone to my ear. I didn't have the strength to hold it up, so I let it rest against the pillow. "Jason?" I whispered. My voice was a dry rasp, sounding like old paper tearing. "Jason, I'm still in the ICU. Dad, listen." Jason's voice cut through the air. It wasn't soft. It wasn't worried. It was loud, rushed, and laced with the specific irritation of a man whose schedule has been inconvenienced. "Where are you? I've been calling the house landline for 20 minutes. I blinked, confusing tears with the stinging antiseptic air. "I had a heart attack, son," I said. "He collapsed at the hardware store. The ambulance—" Okay, he interrupted. "I got the message about the ambulance. But are you discharged? 'Cause Emily's parents are flying in tonight. It's a huge deal, Dad. Her dad is thinking of investing in my dealership. We need the house to look perfect." I felt the air leave my lungs. Not from the heart failure, from the heartbreak. "I'm in the ICU," I repeated. "The doctors say my heart is very weak. I might need surgery." "Dad, stop," Jason snapped. "You always make it sound worse than it is. Look, we need you, not for drama, but for the dinner. You know nobody makes that herb-crusted roast like you do. Emily burned the chicken, and her dad is a food snob. If the dinner is bad, he gets in a bad mood. If he's in a bad mood, I don't get the loan." I felt a coldness spread through my veins. "You want me to come cook?" I asked. "Yes, and fix the thermostat. The house is freezing," he said. "Just sign yourself out. Take an Uber. I'll pay for it. We need you to host. It looks better if the patriarch is there serving the wine. It sells the image of stability." I listened to my son. I listened to the man I had carried to bed when he fell asleep in the car. I listened to the man I had saved from bankruptcy 3 times. "Jason," I said, and my voice broke. "Son, I can't even stand. My legs, they won't hold me." I waited. I waited for the silence to break with an apology. I waited for him to say, "Oh my God, Dad, I'm sorry. I didn't realize." That never came. "Then don't come back home," Jason said. His voice was cold, flat, deadly serious. My ears rang. For a second, I forgot how to breathe. "What?" I breathed. "You heard me," he said. "If you can't be useful when I really need you, then what's the point? You're just taking up space in that big house. Don't bother coming back until you're ready to help." Click. The line went dead. I held the phone to my ear for a long time. I listened to the silence. It wasn't empty silence. It was the sound of a foundation cracking. Useful. That was the word. Not loved. Not needed. Useful. I lowered the phone. My hands stopped shaking. The sadness evaporated, replaced by a strange, icy clarity. It was the same feeling I used to get when I walked onto a construction site and saw a contractor cutting corners. You don't cry over dangerous work. You shut it down. I opened my contact list. I found Jason. I pressed block caller. I found Emily. I pressed block caller. Then, I pressed the nurse call button. The door opened. It wasn't my usual nurse. It was a woman I hadn't seen before. Sarah, the head nurse. She was in her 50s, with kind eyes but a face that said she didn't take nonsense. "Mr. Calhoun," she asked, "you need to lie down. Your blood pressure." "I need my clothes," I said, "and I need you to hand me my laptop for my bag. I have work to do." "You can't leave," Sarah said gently. "You could die." "My son just buried me, Sarah," I said. "I'm already dead. Now I need to settle the estate." She looked at me. She saw the steel in my eyes. She nodded slowly and went to the closet. I did not go home. 3 days later, I checked myself out of the hospital. Against medical advice, I signed the relos with a steady hand. I hired a private car to take me to the downtown Marriott. I checked into a suite on the top floor. It was clean, impersonal, and quiet. I sat in the leather armchair by the window, looking out over the city I'd helped build. I felt weak physically, but mentally, I was sharpening like a blade. I picked up the hotel phone and dialed a number I hadn't used in 2 years. "Frank? Robert?" The voice on the other end was rough, deep, and familiar. Frank Miller was my oldest friend. We had served in the reserves together, and then he had spent 30 years as the chief of detectives for the city police. He ran a high-end private security firm now. "I need you," I said. "I have a job." "I thought you were retired," Frank said. "I thought you were gardening." "The garden is full of weeds," I said. "I need to clear it out." Frank arrived at my hotel room an hour later. He carried a bottle of whiskey and a laptop case. He took one look at me, pale, thinner, but sitting bolt upright, and nodded. He didn't ask if I was okay. He knew I wasn't. "You look like you're planning a siege, Robert," Frank said. "Not a siege," I said. "A demolition." I told him everything: the heart attack, the call, the demand, the blocking. Frank poured 2 fingers of whiskey into a glass, but didn't drink it. He just stared at the wall, his jaw tight, his hands, large and scarred, curled into fists. "He actually said that? Don't come back?" "He said it," I confirmed. "But Frank, I need to know why." "Jason is selfish." "Yes. But he's not stupid." He sounded desperate. He mentioned Emily's father investing in his dealership. "He's panicked." "You think he's in trouble?" Frank said. "I think he's drowning," I said. "And he decided to use me as a life raft. If I didn't float, he was ready to let me sink. I need you to tap into my house security system. The internal network, the one you installed after the break-in last year. Audio and video. They know about the exterior cameras. They don't know about the ones in the smoke detectors." Frank cracked his knuckles. "I can't do the deep encryption myself. I need call in a specialist." "Who?" "Spider." 30 minutes later, there was a knock at the door. A young man walked in. He looked like he was barely out of high school. He wore a hoodie 2 sizes too big and carried a backpack, covered in patches. "This is Spider," Frank said. "Best hacker in the state. He works for me now." Spider nodded at me. He didn't speak. He just sat down, opened his laptop, and started typing. His fingers moved so fast they were a blur. "I'm in," Spider said after 2 minutes. "Audio is live. Video is 4K. He connected his laptop to the hotel TV. A grid of 6 camera feeds appeared. The living room, the kitchen, the hallway, the master bedroom, the office. We watched. The house, my house, the one I had designed and paid for with 40 years of sweat, was in chaos. Suitcases were piled in the hallway, not packed to leave, but unpacked. Emily's clothes were draped over my leather armchair. Dirty dishes were stacked in the sink. "Turn up the audio in the kitchen," I said. On the screen, Jason was pacing. He looked terrible. His hair was messy, and he was sweating through his shirt. He held a phone to his ear. "I can't get a hold of him," Jason yelled into the phone. "He's blocked me." The old man has gone dark. Emily was sitting at the island, drinking a glass of wine. By wine, a 2012 Cabernet I had been saving for my 70th birthday. Maybe he died, Emily said. She said it with zero emotion, as if she were discussing a broken toaster. My hand gripped the armrest. I felt the leather creak under my fingers. I called the hospital, Jason said, running a hand through his hair. They said he was discharged. He's gone. So he's sulking. Emily scoffed. Let him sulk. Jason, focus. My dad arrives in 2 days. We need to have the papers ready. Did you get the notary? Yeah, Mike is coming over. He'll stamp anything for $500. Good, Emily said. We get the power of attorney signed, we get the loan approved, and we pay off the guys in Vegas. Then we sell this place and move to the condo. I froze. Frank looked at me. Vegas? Gambling? I whispered. He promised me he stopped. 5 years ago, he swore on his mother's grave. He didn't stop, Frank said grimly. And the guys in Vegas usually means loan sharks. Robert, that explains the panic. He's not just broke. He's in danger. And he's going to sell my house to save himself, I said. The anger in my chest was hot and sharp. He's going to forge my signature on a power of attorney. That's a felony, Frank said. We can call the cops right now. No, I said. I leaned forward, staring at the screen. Not yet. I want them to feel safe. I want them to think they've won. If we stop them now, they'll cry mistake. They'll beg. I want to catch them, with the pen in their hand. But the real betrayal was still waiting in the shadows. On Tuesday morning, I watched Emily in the living room. She was cleaning for her parents. She picked up a framed photo of Martha, my late wife. It was the picture from our 40th anniversary, the one where Martha was laughing. Emily looked at it, wrinkled her nose, and tossed it face down into a cardboard box, labeled trash, donate. Too much clutter, she muttered. Dad hates clutter. It smells like old people in here. I gripped the edge of the hotel desk so hard my knuckles turned white. I wanted to scream. I wanted to drive over there and throw her out. But I held back. Patience, I told myself. Wait for the kill shot. Wednesday afternoon brought a new low. I watched Jason trying to order catering since I wasn't there to cook. He was on the phone, reading out a credit card number. My credit card number declined. He shouted, Try it again. It's a platinum card. There's a $50,000 limit. It was declined because Frank had called the bank that morning. I had spoken to Mr. Henderson, the bank manager. He was an old friend from high school. When I told him Jason might try to use the cards, he froze them personally. I don't have another card, Jason yelled, slamming his fist on my granite countertop. He looked like a trapped animal. He had to pay cash from his wallet for pizzas. It was pathetic. A man of 32, eating pizza on a paper plate in $1 million home he was trying to steal. If you're still hooked on this journey with us, hit like before we continue. It helps more than you know. On Thursday, a stranger arrived. He was a short, balding man with a nervous tic and a cheap suit. He carried a battered briefcase. This is Dr. Evans, Emily asked. I'm a doctor, yes, the man said, but I usually handle pain management prescriptions. We don't need pills, Jason said, sliding an envelope of cash across the table. We need a statement. My father is mentally incompetent. Dementia, rapid onset. He's missing. We need to take control of the estate for his own safety. I can write that, the man said, counting the money. But I'll need to see him eventually. You won't, Emily said. Once we have the power of attorney, we're putting him in a state facility. He won't be talking to anyone. Frank, sitting next to me, let out a low growl. That's conspiracy, Robert. They are literally plotting to lock you away. I know, I said. My voice was ice. Record it. Save every second. Later that night, the doorbell rang again. Spider switched the feed to the front porch camera. A massive man stood there. He wore a leather jacket and sunglasses at night. That's Tony Valenti, Frank said. Enforcer. He breaks legs for a living. Jason opened the door. Tony, Jason stammered. I told you Friday. Tony pushed his way into the foyer. He grabbed Jason by the throat and slammed him against the wall. Friday is tomorrow, Jason, Tony said softly. You owe $250 large. If I don't see that money, I take a finger. Maybe I take your wife's finger. Jason gasped for air. I'll have it. My father-in-law is investing. We're selling the house. Tick-tock, J-boy, Tony said. He dropped Jason and walked out. The blood drained from my face. $250,000. He hadn't just relapsed. He had buried himself. Friday morning, the day of the big dinner, I decided to poke the bear. I unblocked Jason for 1 minute. I sent a text. Me, Jason. I'm feeling a bit better. The doctors might release me tomorrow. I'd like to come home. I watched the screen. Jason read the text. He went pale. He showed it to Emily. He can't come back. Emily hissed. My dad is signing the investment deal tonight. If your dad shows up, babbling about his heart, it ruins the image. We need to look like the owners, Jason. Not the house sitters. Jason typed a reply. Jason, Dad, don't rush. The doctor said you need rest. Honestly, the house is chaos right now. The heater is broken. It's freezing. Stay at the hotel or hospital for a few more days. It's for your own good. He lied. He lied to keep me away so he could sell my life out from under me. Okay, I said to the screen. You made your choice. I called Frank. Is everything ready? The district attorney is a personal friend, Frank said. He's seen the footage. He's issuing the warrants now, and Mr. Henderson wants to be there too. He's not happy about the forged loan application. Good, I said. Tonight, 7:00 p.m., tell them to park down the street. I'm going in first. I dressed in my best suit. It was a navy blue wool suit, tailored. I put on my tie. I put on my watch. I didn't look like a sick man. I looked like a judge. I looked like an architect. Frank drove me. We parked 2 houses down. The house was glowing. Every light was on. It looked warm, inviting. It looked like the home I had built for Martha. You got the cane? Frank asked. I don't need it, I said. I walked up the driveway. The night air was crisp. I could smell wood smoke. I walked to the front door. I put my key in the lock. It didn't turn. They had changed the locks. Of course they had. I walked around to the back, the patio door off the kitchen. I knew the latch was loose. I had been meaning to fix it for months. I slid a thin piece of metal, a shim I kept in my wallet, between the doors and popped the latch. I slid the door open. I stepped into the kitchen. The kitchen was a disaster zone. Pots and pans everywhere. The smell of burning meat hung in the air. I heard laughter drifting in from the dining room. I walked softly. I stood in the doorway of the dining room, hidden by the shadows. Jason was sitting at the head of the table. My chair. Emily was on his right. Her parents, Mr. and Mrs. Sterling, sat opposite. This roast is interesting, Mrs. Sterling said, poking at a slice of meat. It looked dry, burnt. Did you cook this, Jason? I did, Jason lied smoothly. It's an old family recipe. Sorry if it's a bit well done. The oven is tricky. And your father? Mr. Sterling asked. Robert, isn't it? You said he was unavailable? Jason took a sip of wine. He looked confident. The check from the father-in-law must have been on the table already. Yes, Jason said, putting on a sad face. Poor Dad. He's in a memory care unit now. It happened so fast. Dementia. He doesn't even know who I am anymore. We're in the process of transferring the deed to my name so we can manage his assets for him. That's responsible of you, Mr. Sterling said. Hard decision, but necessary. It is, Emily added. We just want him to be safe. I stepped into the light. I am safe, I said. My voice was calm, baritone, and filled the room like a thunderclap. The silence that followed was absolute. Jason dropped his wine glass. Red wine splashed across the white tablecloth like a gunshot wound. Dad, he croaked. I walked toward the table. I moved slowly, deliberately. I'm not in a memory care unit, Jason, I said, and I don't have dementia. Though looking at this burnt roast, I wish I did, so I could forget you ruined good meat. Jason scrambled up. Dad, you're here. We were just joking. Joking. I looked at Emily's father. Is fraud a joke in your family, sir? Who is this? Mr. Sterling demanded, standing up. Jason, you said he was incompetent. He is, Emily shrieked. She stood up, blocking me. He's confused. He wandered off from the hospital. Jason, call the police. Yes, I smiled. It was a terrifying smile. Please, call them. Dad, stop, Jason whispered, moving toward me. His eyes were wide, frantic. Please, don't do this. Not now. We can talk later. I'll explain everything. Explain the $250,000 you owe to the Sharks? I asked loudly. Jason froze. Explain the forged power of attorney. I continued, stepping closer. Explain the loan application you submitted yesterday with my signature on it. Lies, Emily yelled. He's making it up. I reached into my pocket and pulled out a remote control. I pointed it at the wall-mounted TV in the dining room. Let's watch a movie, I said. I pressed play. The footage from the war room appeared. It was crystal clear. Emily's voice on the screen. We tell him he's sick. We put him in that home in Jersey. We sell the house. Jason's voice? Okay. But we need the notary. Dr. Evans' voice. I can write that statement for $500. The room watched in horror. Emily's parents turned pale. Emily sank into her chair. Jason looked at the screen, then at me. He looked small. The arrogance was gone. The man of the house act was gone. Dad, he whimpered. I'm not done, I said. I turned toward the hallway. Come in. Frank walked in. Behind him was District Attorney Miller. Behind him were 2 uniformed police officers. But the most terrifying figure was the man in the suit at the back. Agent Reynolds from the FBI Financial Crimes Division. Jason Calhoun, the DA said, his voice grave. Emily Calhoun, we have warrants for your arrest for attempted wire fraud, forgery, and conspiracy to commit elder abuse. No, Jason screamed. No, please, it was just a plan. We didn't sell it yet. Conspiracy is the crime, son, Frank said, stepping forward. He placed a hand on Jason's shoulder. Hands behind your back. The reality hit Jason like a freight train. He looked at the handcuffs. He looked at his in-laws, who were backing away in disgust. Emily's father was already on his phone, calling his own lawyers to distance himself. Jason looked at me, and then he broke. He fell to his knees. He literally collapsed onto the hardwood floor, grabbing the hem of my jacket. Dad, Dad, please. He was sobbing now. Ugly, snot-nosed tears. I'm sorry. I was scared. They were going to kill me. Dad, help me. Don't let them take me. It was the moment, the tear down. I looked down at him. I saw the top of his head. I remembered the day he was born. I remembered holding him. I remembered promising to protect him from the world, but I also remembered the phone call. Then don't come back home. I reached down. For a second, hope flared in his eyes. I peeled his fingers off my jacket. You told me not to come back, I said softly. You told me to be useful or be gone. I didn't mean it, he wailed. I did, I said. I stepped back. Officers. They hauled him up. He was screaming my name as they dragged him out the front door. Emily was screaming at her parents to pay her bail. Her father just turned his back on her. The front door slammed shut. The silence returned. The in-laws left without a word. They were too ashamed to speak. Frank stayed for a while, helping me secure the doors. You okay, Robert? He asked, standing in the foyer. I looked around. The house was quiet. The pictures of Martha were still in the box, where Emily had thrown them. I will be, I said. Eventually. You did the right thing, Frank said. He would have destroyed you. I know, I said, but it doesn't feel like a victory, Frank. It just feels like maintenance. Frank nodded and left. I was alone. I walked into the kitchen. The burnt roast was still on the table. The spilled wine was soaking into the cloth. I picked up the roast. I walked to the trash can and dropped it in with a heavy thud. I'm not cooking, I whispered to the empty room. I walked into the living room and sat in my armchair, the one Emily hadn't moved yet. I closed my eyes. I listened to the house settling. The creak of the floorboard, the hum of the refrigerator. It was a lonely sound, but it was a sturdy sound. The foundation was strong. The rot had been cut. I was 65 years old. I was alone. My son was in a cell, but I was standing. And I was home. Thanks for walking this journey with us. Tap like and let us feel you here. Sometimes, standing your ground means standing alone.